Good morning, everybody.
Get over against the wall with your friend.
That's you in there, boy?
There's something comforting about Mayberry, isn't there? That little town where the biggest crisis might be Aunt Bee's pickles or Barney's latest scheme. For 8 wonderful years, from 1960 to 1968, The Andy Griffith Show invited us into a world that felt like home. Even if you've watched every episode a dozen times, settling in with the familiar faces of Andy, Opie, Barney, and Aunt Bee, there are still plenty of little secrets hiding in plain sight. From clever production tricks to heartwarming real-life connections, these are 30 small details you missed in The Andy Griffith Show. Detail 30, the rock that wasn't thrown by Opie.
Grandpa, why didn't you make him crawl out of there like a wet pup?
You've seen it 1,000 times. Andy and Opie walking down to the fishing hole in the opening credits, and young Opie picks up a rock and tosses it into the water. It's such a simple, perfect moment that captures the whole spirit of the show. Well, here's the thing. 6-year-old Ron Howard wasn't strong enough to throw that rock far enough to reach the lake. They tried over and over, with little Ron giving it his best effort, but the rock just wouldn't make it to the water. After several failed attempts, the assistant director came up with a solution. He hid a prop man behind a nearby bush, out of sight of the camera. When Opie pretended to throw, the hidden crew member actually tossed the rock into the lake. If you watch that opening sequence closely, you might notice a slight delay between Opie's throwing motion and the splash in the water. It's one of those movie magic moments that works so well, nobody questioned it for years. Detail 29. Andy's unconscious tribute to his father. In that same opening sequence, watch Andy's face carefully when Opie throws the rock. He gives a very distinct nod of approval, a simple gesture that feels completely natural and unforced. Years later, long after the show had ended, Andy Griffith was watching those opening credits and suddenly realized something that gave him chills. He'd been unconsciously imitating a gesture his own father used to give him to show approval when he was a boy. That little nod wasn't in the script. It wasn't something a director told him to do. It was just Andy being Andy, carrying forward something deep from his own childhood, something his dad had done for him when he accomplished something or did something right. It's these kinds of authentic moments, drawn from real life and real emotion, that gave The Andy Griffith Show its special quality. The love between Andy and Opie on screen reflected real father-son relationships, including Andy's own. Detail 28. The fishing hole was actually in Los Angeles.
That where I can't hardly get hold of it. Yeah, boy, fighting like that, he'll be good to eat, won't he?
That peaceful little fishing spot where Andy and Opie headed in the opening credits, the one that looked like it could only exist in small-town North Carolina, it wasn't in North Carolina at all. The famous scene was filmed at Franklin Canyon Park, located at the eastern end of the Santa Monica Mountains, right smack in the middle of Los Angeles. This 605-acre park served as the perfect stand-in for a rural North Carolina fishing hole, and the production team found that perfect spot where Andy and Opie could walk down to the water. Today, you can still visit that same location and stand in the very spot where that iconic opening was filmed. Franklin Canyon Park has been featured in countless other productions over the years, including Twin Peaks, The Brady Bunch, NCIS, and even Purple Rain. But for fans of The Andy Griffith Show, it will always be the path to the fishing hole. Detail 27. The theme song had words.
He says, beat it, boy.
Most of us only know the whistled version of the theme song, that cheerful, carefree tune that instantly transports us to Mayberry. But The Fishin' Hole actually has lyrics written by Everett Sloan, who also made a guest appearance on the show in 1961. Andy Griffith even recorded a version with the words, and you can still find it if you look hard enough. The lyrics paint a picture of a perfect day at the fishing hole, talking about taking a stroll and passing the time. But the producers made a wise decision. They felt that whistling captured the show's easygoing spirit better than words ever could. There's something about that whistle, performed by composers Earl Hagen and Herbert Spencer, that just feels right. It's informal, it's friendly, it's unpretentious. Just like Andy himself, that theme song became one of the most recognizable in television history, and it's hard to imagine it any other way. Detail 26. Floyd's barbershop was stuck in time.
You've got a nice place lined up there. 2 chairs, mirrors on both.
If you ever paid close attention to Floyd's barbershop during your visits to Mayberry, you might have noticed something peculiar on the wall. The calendar in Floyd's shop stayed on February for the entire 8-year run of the show. Every single episode, there it was, stuck on February. Whether this was an oversight by the show's directors and producers, or if they chose this detail for some deeper reason, nobody seems quite sure. But when you think about it, it's rather perfect. The Andy Griffith Show existed outside of normal time in a way. It captured something eternal about small-town life, about the relationships that matter, about the kind of community we all wish we had. It's almost like the show knew it was creating something timeless, something that would still feel fresh and relevant decades later. So yes, it's always February in Floyd's barbershop, and in a way, it's always 1965 in Mayberry. Detail 25. The show started on another series.
I'll give him a piece of my mind. I'll tell him what kind of an officer he's got working for him, a Jesse James with a badge.
Before the Andy Griffith Show had its own premiere in October 1960, Andy Taylor and young Opie first appeared in an episode of The Danny Thomas Show called Danny Meets Andy Griffith that aired in February 1960. In that episode, Danny Thomas gets pulled over for speeding as he drives through Mayberry and gets a memorable taste of country justice and a bit of comeuppance for his big city arrogance. That episode served as what's called a backdoor pilot, testing the waters for what would become The Andy Griffith Show. Both series were produced by Danny Thomas, and his production company saw the potential in the character of Andy Taylor. The chemistry was there, the charm was there, and audiences responded. It was the perfect launching pad for what would become one of television's most beloved series, running for 8 successful seasons and never falling out of the top 10 in the ratings. Detail 24. Andy and Barney were cousins.
Secretary.
She can't even wait till 1 o'clock.
In the very first episodes of the show, Andy would refer to Barney as Cousin Barney. This detail was mentioned a few times early in season 1, but then it quietly disappeared and was never mentioned again for the rest of the series. The relationship between the two characters shifted to simply being lifelong friends. Detail 23. Barney's ever-changing middle name.
Oh, I don't. I now reside in Raleigh. You probably read about me in the news. Oh, you're...
Speaking of Barney, his middle name changed throughout the series. In some episodes, it was Oliver. In others, it was Milton. Sometimes just the initial P appeared. The writers never settled on a single middle name for Deputy Barney Fife. Detail 22. The mystery of Mr. Schwamp.
Mr. Schwamp, I tried to pinch him, but he just giggled and jumped away.
Longtime fans of the show remember a mysterious character named Mr. Schwamp, who would occasionally appear sitting on a park bench or in crowd scenes throughout Mayberry. He was a middle-aged man with dark hair that looked like it might be a toupee. Andy or Barney would acknowledge him with a simple, friendly, "Hello, Mr. Schwamp," and he'd nod and smile without saying a word. That was it. No big role, no storylines, just a recurring presence in the background of Mayberry life. To this very day, nobody knows who played Mr. Schwamp. It's become one of the show's most enduring mysteries, debated by fans for decades. The character even appeared in 2 episodes of the spin-off Gomer Pyle, USMC, but still, his identity remained a secret. The Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club got so invested in solving this mystery that they staged an elaborate April Fool's Day prank in 2012, claiming they'd finally identified the actor as someone named Patch S. Wimmers. But it was all in good fun. The mystery remains unsolved to this day. Detail 21. Barney kept only 1 bullet.
Where's the bullet?
It's in his left shirt pocket.
Why?
Well, this is an emergency.
One of the show's most beloved running gags was that Barney was only allowed to carry a single bullet, which he kept carefully in his shirt pocket. Andy didn't trust his excitable, well-meaning deputy with a fully loaded weapon, knowing Barney's tendency to get overexcited and potentially shoot himself in the foot, or worse. This limitation on Barney's firepower became such an iconic part of the character that something wonderful happened. Fans across the country started mailing real bullets to Don Knotts at the studio. They came from everywhere, sent as tokens of affection and as a gentle, loving joke about his character's perpetual limitation. It was both a gesture of endearment and a playful acknowledgement of one of television's great comedic restrictions. Don must have had quite the collection by the time the show ended its run. Detail 20. The show was filmed with a single camera.
Barney, enough's enough. Quit handling Ace a syrup. He's all...
Unlike most sitcoms of its era, which were performed in front of live studio audiences with multiple cameras capturing the action from different angles, the Andy Griffith Show took a completely different approach. Andy Griffith specifically pushed for a single camera setup, which was unusual for a comedy series at the time. He understood something important about the kind of show they were making. With a 3-camera show and a live audience, everything had to be written with jokes spaced out for audience reaction. You were always playing to that audience, timing your delivery for the laughs. But with a single camera and no audience, Andy and the other actors had the freedom to do quiet, subtle scenes without having to build toward punchlines or wait for laughter. They could just be real. This gave the show its unique, gentle rhythm and allowed for those wonderful, meandering moments between Andy and Barney or Andy and Opie that didn't rely on big laughs. They could take their time, let scenes breathe, and find the humor in natural human behavior rather than constructed jokes. Detail 19. Those quiet scenes were often improvised.
Okay, we'll take care of that. Right. Thank you, sir.
When Ron Howard appeared on the podcast Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend years later, he revealed something fascinating about those slow, meandering conversations between Andy and Barney that fans loved so much. You know the ones, where they're just sitting on the porch or in the courthouse, talking about nothing in particular, the kind of conversations that gave the show its special flavor. Many of those scenes were actually improvised at the last minute when episodes ran short of their required runtime. The show filmed Monday through Wednesday with a single camera setup, and they'd often get to Wednesday night and discover they were a few minutes short of filling their time slot. That's when the showrunner, Aaron Rubin, would come down to the set and talk to Andy. Andy would turn to Don Knotts, and he always called him by his real first name, Jesse, which Don actually didn't care for, and say, "Jesse, we're short, come on." The two would quickly discuss what to talk about, maybe work out a basic idea, and then they'd film one of those relaxed dialogue scenes right there at the end of the shooting day. The magic is that these hastily improvised moments often became the most memorable scenes in the episodes. That natural, unhurried quality wasn't just good acting, it was two friends genuinely riffing off each other. Detail 18. The show never used much laugh track.
Oh, howdy, Cal. Hey, Barney, what's up?
After facing pressure to add a laugh track like other sitcoms, Andy Griffith asked that one episode be screened to a live audience whose laughter would be recorded. Producers tried it with a few early episodes, but it proved too costly. They reached a compromise where the show would use a laugh track, but only sparingly. That's why the Andy Griffith Show has such a different feel from other sitcoms of its time. Detail 17. Andy and Frances Bavier didn't get along.
Did you vacuum the hall?
No.
Get to it.
On screen, Andy and Aunt Bee had a warm, loving relationship that felt completely genuine. Aunt Bee fussed over Andy and Opie, made them wonderful meals, and kept the Taylor household running smoothly. Off-screen, though, it was a very different story. Frances Bavier was a sophisticated, well-educated woman from a wealthy New York family who attended Columbia University and the American Academy of Dramatic Arts before building a career on Broadway and in film. She had appeared in movies like The Day the Earth Stood Still and had a whole life before she became Aunt Bee. The role of a small-town spinster was quite different from who she really was, and there's been speculation that she resented being typecast this way. She didn't have much of a sense of humor on set, and didn't appreciate Andy's constant joking and pranks. The two had what some called a tense relationship for much of the show's run. In 1972, several years after the show ended, Andy Griffith and Ron Howard made a special trip to visit Frances at her home in Siler City, North Carolina. She turned them away at the door. You can imagine how that must have felt for both of them. But the story has a touching end. Shortly before her death in 1989, Frances called Andy to apologize for being difficult during their years working together. It's a reminder that even professionals who clash can find their way back to respect and forgiveness in the end. Detail 16. Frances Bavier moved to Mayberry.
But since the law's getting after me, I guess I gotta.
Here's something that shows how complicated Frances Bavier's relationship with the show really was. Despite her difficulties with Andy and her apparent mixed feelings about playing Aunt Bee, when Frances retired from acting, she chose to move to Siler City, North Carolina. This town is very close to Mount Airy, which was the real-life inspiration for Mayberry. Of all the places in the world she could have gone, remember, she was from New York and had lived in Los Angeles. She chose to spend her final years in a small North Carolina town, just like the one she portrayed on television. When she passed away in 1989, she was buried in the Oakwood Cemetery in Siler City under a tombstone inscribed with both her real name, Frances Bavier, and her character name, Aunt Bee. The character had become inseparable from who she was, whether she fully embraced that or not. It suggests that maybe, despite everything, there was a part of her that loved Mayberry and what the show meant to people. Detail 15. Ron Howard couldn't read yet.
Parlor, and Mrs. Bolivar stepped on him, and she didn't even stop, just kept on.
When Ron Howard began playing Opie Taylor at age 6 in 1960, he faced a challenge that most child actors didn't have to deal with. He couldn't read yet. Think about what that means for a moment. Every script, every line of dialogue, all those scenes where Opie had heartfelt conversations with his father or got into mischief with his friends. Ron couldn't read any of it. His father, Rance Howard, who was also an actor, would sit with him and go over his lines. Other cast members would help too, reading the scenes with him, working with him until he had his lines memorized. Despite this significant challenge, young Ron delivered one of the most memorable and beloved child performances in television history. He brought a naturalness and authenticity to Opie that never felt forced or overly cute. He was a real kid dealing with real kid problems, and somehow, without being able to read his scripts, he made it all seem effortless. Detail 14. Rance Howard appeared on the show.
Nothing that a little traffic violation ticket won't fix. You're kidding. You have any idea whose car this is?
Ron's father, Rance Howard, was also an actor and appeared in several episodes of The Andy Griffith Show. Ron has said that the relationship between Andy and Opie was influenced by his own real-life relationship with his dad. That warmth and genuine affection you see on screen had real roots. Detail 13. Clint Howard played Leon.
Oh, hello.
Ron's younger brother, Clint Howard, made many appearances on the show as Leon, the little cowboy who loved peanut butter and jelly. The Howard family connection ran deep throughout the series. Detail 12. Ellie Walker's name wasn't a mistake.
My special soda for special people I want to show how I feel about.
Eleanor Donahue played Andy's first girlfriend, Ellie Walker, in the first season. Most people in town called her Ellie, but in the middle of the Christmas episode, Aunt Bee calls her Eleanor. It might seem like Frances Bavier accidentally used the actress's real name, but no, Eleanor Walker was actually the character's full name. Ellie was just a nickname. Detail 11. Eleanor Donahue left after one season.
What you have now, Barney. I was about to show Dr. Benson our prescription department. Was there anything you wanted, Andy?
Eleanor Donahue came to the Andy Griffith Show fresh off her success playing Betty Anderson on Father Knows Best, which had ended just months earlier in 1960. She seemed like a perfect fit to play Ellie Walker, the pharmacist who became Andy's first love interest. But something wasn't quite working. Eleanor felt there was no real on-screen chemistry between her and Andy Griffith, and she was absolutely right. Years later, Andy admitted that he had always had a hard time showing affection during filming. It just wasn't something that came naturally to him in front of the cameras. Their romantic relationship never quite felt genuine or believable, and both of them knew it. Rather than continue with something that wasn't working for the show, they made the mutual decision to part ways after the first season. It took a few more years before the show found the right romantic partner for Andy and Helen Crump, played by Annetta Corsaw, and that relationship had the chemistry that the Ellie Walker character lacked. Detail 10. Helen Crump was supposed to be one episode.
No, I'm not. I had Jane Marcus over for dinner and we got talking and I didn't...
When Helen Crump first appeared in the third season, she was meant to be a one-time character and even a rival to Andy. The writers gave her the unfortunate last name Crump as a joke, never expecting her to return. But Annetta Corsaw's performance was so good that the producers made her a regular cast member. She stayed with the show through its final episode and eventually became Andy's wife. Detail 9. Andy and Annetta Corsaw had an affair.
You have your paper till you pay your bill. Oh, I'd catch you before you left for the hospital.
Though Andy Griffith was married, he and Annetta Corsaw began a romantic relationship that was an open secret among the cast and crew. The affair lasted throughout their 5 years together on the show. Their on-screen chemistry had some very real roots. Detail 8. The Christmas Story. Writer was Blacklisted.
What?
Tore it up in teeny little pieces, that's what he did. Come on.
Wait a minute. Did you do like Barney said, Ben?
What if I did?
Well, that's
The Christmas Story remains one of the most beloved episodes in the entire run of The Andy Griffith Show. It's the only Christmas episode the show ever produced, and it's a perfect little gem about kindness, redemption, and the spirit of the season. The episode was credited to a writer named David Adler, but that wasn't his real name. The actual writer was Frank Tarloff, who had been blacklisted by the House Un-American Activities Committee in 1953 during the dark days of McCarthyism. Being blacklisted meant he couldn't work in Hollywood under his own name, so he had to use pseudonyms to make a living. Tarloff wrote 9 total episodes of The Andy Griffith Show under various assumed names, contributing wonderful stories to the series while unable to receive public credit for his work. The talent couldn't be suppressed, though. Years later, Tarloff won an Academy Award for his screenplay for the 1964 film Father Goose, starring Cary Grant. It's a reminder that even during that shameful period in Hollywood history, creativity found a way to shine through. Detail 7. The Propmaster left his mark.
Little matter of a moonshine in Georgia. I'll be dogged. I never did check that evidence. Better do that.
In that same Christmas episode, as the camera pans up the jail cell to Ben Weaver singing in the window, you can spot the initials RS carved into the wall. Those are the initials of Reggie Smith, the show's propmaster, who left his little signature on the set. Detail 6. Don Knotts almost wasn't Barney.
Oh, I don't. I now reside in Raleigh. You probably read about me in the news. Oh, you're...
When the Andy Griffith Show started filming its first episode, Don Knotts showed up to work as one of many actors who didn't have a firm contract or guarantee of employment. Barney Fife could have easily been a one-episode character, a minor role that came and went without anyone remembering it. But something special happened when Don stepped into that role. The chemistry between him and Andy was immediate and undeniable. Barney's neurotic energy, his desperate need to be important, his bumbling incompetence combined with absolute confidence. It all came together in a character that audiences fell in love with instantly. Instead of being a forgotten one-episode character, Barney Fife became one of the most beloved figures in television history. Don Knotts won 5 Emmy Awards for Outstanding Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role in a Comedy for his portrayal of Barney. 5 Emmy Awards. That's not just recognition, that's domination. And to think it all started with an actor showing up to work without even knowing if he'd have a job the next week. Detail 5. Don Knotts left because of a misunderstanding.
Yeah?
Yeah!
You're gonna make me?
You're darn right I am!
You and who else?
The departure of Barney Fife from The Andy Griffith Show after 5 seasons was one of those heartbreaking Hollywood misunderstandings that nobody could have predicted. When the show started, Andy Griffith told Don Knotts that he only wanted to commit to doing the series for 5 years, so both of them signed 5-year contracts, planning to end the show after season 5. During that 5th season, knowing the end was coming, Don began looking for other work to line up for when the show ended. He signed a 5-year deal with Universal Pictures to make feature films. Then Andy decided he wanted to continue The Andy Griffith Show for 3 more years and offered Don a new contract to stay on. But Don was already committed to Universal. He was legally bound to that 5-year deal and couldn't break it, so he had to leave Mayberry, not because he wanted to, but because of timing and contracts and circumstances beyond anyone's control. It was a misunderstanding that cost Mayberry its beloved deputy and cost the show some of its magic. Don did return for guest appearances throughout the remaining seasons, but it was never quite the same without Barney as a regular character. Detail 4. The show never fell below number 7.
I think I'm gonna fall for that old trick.
The Andy Griffith Show wasn't just popular, it was a genuine ratings powerhouse that dominated television for 8 straight years. The show premiered in October 1960 and spent all 8 of its seasons in the top 10, never once falling below 7th place in the yearly ratings. Think about that for a moment. 8 years, top 10 every single year. That kind of consistency is almost unheard of in television. But here's the really remarkable part. When the show ended its run in 1968, it was still the #1 show on television. Andy Griffith chose to end the series while it was still on top. Still beloved, still bringing in massive audiences. Most shows limp to their conclusion, ratings declining year after year until the network finally pulls the plug. Not this one. Only 2 other shows in the entire history of television have ended their run while still holding the #1 spot in the ratings. I Love Lucy and Seinfeld. That's pretty good company to be in. Detail 3. The cars were free.
What happened? He was here, Andy.
Dirksen?
Yeah, he got the drop on me.
Sheriff Andy Taylor drove a Ford Galaxy around Mayberry, but here's something most people don't know. Due to an agreement with Ford, a local dealership would provide the show with a free replacement car every time a new model came out. It was a smart piece of product placement that kept the show's squad car looking fresh year after year. Detail 2. Andy's favorite episode.
Let me drive you to Mount Pilot.
No, thank you. That won't be necessary.
Andy Griffith's favorite episode was Barney's First Car from season 3. In it, Barney spends his life savings on an old car that doesn't work. It's a perfect example of the show's gentle humor and the wonderful relationship between Andy and his deputy. Detail 1. Opie's mother was never shown.
There never was a crooked politician that could fight the press.
Lover, will you please leave me alone?
One of the show's most interesting creative decisions was the complete absence of Opie's mother from the story. In all 8 seasons, her name was never given. Not once. Her picture never appeared anywhere in Andy's house. Not on the mantle, not in the bedroom, nowhere. Her grave was never shown. The show gave us almost no information about her at all. In one early episode that appeared on the Danny Thomas Show, Andy mentions that she died when Opie was the least little speck of a baby. And that's about all we ever learn. This restraint was remarkable for a television show. Most series would have been tempted to create flashback episodes to show us who she was, to give us tearful scenes at her grave. But the Andy Griffith Show trusted its audience to fill in those blanks themselves. It understood that sometimes what you don't show is just as powerful as what you do show. The absence of Opie's mother made Andy's role as a single father more poignant, made Aunt Bee's place in the household more important, and allowed viewers to imagine their own story for this woman who was loved and lost. That kind of restraint is part of what made Mayberry feel so real and so timeless. The Andy Griffith Show gave us something truly precious, a place where kindness mattered more than anything else, where problems could be solved with a gentle word and a bit of wisdom, and where the simple act of walking to the fishing hole with your son was enough. For 8 years, Mayberry was a refuge from the chaos of the world, a reminder of what communities could be when people treated each other with respect and care. These little details we've explored today remind us that even the most carefully crafted television show was made by real people, with real friendships, real challenges, real conflicts, and real heart. Some of them didn't get along. Some of them had affairs. Some of them used pseudonyms to work around unjust blacklists. Some of them hid behind bushes to throw rocks into lakes. But together, they created something that has lasted for more than 60 years and will continue to bring comfort and joy to generations to come. That's the real magic of Mayberry. It wasn't perfect, but it was made with love, and that love shines through in every episode. If you enjoyed this trip back to Mayberry, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe for more nostalgic looks at the shows we love. Thanks for watching, and remember, it's always a good day to take a stroll down to the fishing hole.